Welcome to the virtual guided learning library from InsideOut Literary Arts. InsideOut immerses students in the joy and power of poetry through classroom residencies, after-school workshops, performances, publications, and community programming led by our team of professional writers and artists. We are so happy to have you join us today and look forward to the words, ideas, and stories you will share.
Hey friends, hey! My name is Jassmine Parks, affectionately known as Jazz, and I am a poet as well as a writer in residence with InsideOut Literary Arts. In today's lesson, we will learn how to interpret art, such as a painting by Hebrew Brantley and a poem by Joshua Bennett. We're going to use a couple of different techniques, such as visual thinking strategies and close reading. By the end of this video, we should have a deeper contextual understanding of the message in which an artist is trying to convey, as well as thinking about why a piece of art connects with us. Before we get started with our lesson, we want to make sure that we have the proper materials. So first, get something to write with, whether it's a pen, a pencil, or maybe you're using technology such as your phone or computer. Next, you want to make sure you have something to write on. Again, you may be using technology, so your computer or your phone, but if not, make sure you get a notepad or a journal. Thirdly, you want to make sure that you have access to a copy of the poem we will be reading today, entitled Fade by Joshua Bennett. It doesn't matter if you have a digital copy or a hard copy. And last but not least, we're going to come across some words we may have never seen before, or we possibly have seen them, but we quite don't understand what they mean. So it may be best to have on hand a copy of the dictionary, or just use your phone and go online to find a copy of a dictionary. This is a good time to pause the video so you can gather all of your materials. Now that you have time to grab everything that you need for today, let's talk about the plan. First, we're going to take a look at a painting by Hebrew Brantley. Observing the painting, we're going to use visual thinking strategies, followed by a brief writing exercise to convey what we think that the painting was trying to say. Secondly, we would do a read-through of Josh Bennett's poem Fade. The first read-through would just give us a gist or the general overview of what the poet is trying to say. Third, we're going to do another read-through of Joshua Bennett's Fade. This time, we're going to have the help of a close reading chart. That way there, we're able to question, analyze, and better connect to what the poem is trying to say. And lastly, we're going to close out our lesson with a writing prompt inspired by the art that we observed with the painting in the poem. Let's get to work, y'all. In this part of the section, we're going to be doing visual thinking strategies. I know, visual thinking strategies. It sounds like such a complex concept, but it really isn't. What visual thinking strategies is when we take our own observations of a piece of art and we learn to develop more critical thinking and in-depth conversations about that piece of art that we engaged with. And the way that we do that is by asking a few imperative questions. Those questions in turn will have us thinking about, one, what the artist is trying to convey. And two, how does a piece of art connect with us? I want you to take a look at this painting from Hebrew Brantley's collection entitled Fade Resistant. I want you to take in the entire painting, the background, the colors used, I want you to look at the hairstyle, the fade. Look at the face of the subject. Consider the mood. I want you to sit with the painting for a few moments. See what all you can absorb. And I want you to think about what this painting is saying to you. Now pause the video and answer the following questions. 1, what is going on in this picture? 2, what makes you say that? And 3, what more can you find? And looking at the painting, one of the things that I noticed was the boy's hairstyle, called a fade. Inside of his hairstyle, I noticed a few different colorful objects and possibly people. And at the bottom of his hairstyle, I noticed the words D, all of the above. That made me wonder, was the boy dealing with the stress of a test or challenges at school or in life? And possibly was he feeling overwhelmed? And that made me think, if he was using his imagination to escape those challenges and responsibilities. Now that I've given you an example, what is it that you think that the boy may have been feeling or thinking? Take 5 minutes to write down your thoughts about your observations from the painting. Now that we're back together, what did you write about? When I wrote, I noticed how the colors made the boy stand out, and also how everything in the background seemed to just fade away. It made me think about what it means to fade. It reminded me of the poem by Joshua Bennett. In this section of the lesson, we're going to do a read-through of Joshua Bennett's poem, Fade. And just like with the visual thinking strategies, we'll go over the poem a couple of times, so that way there we have a deeper understanding of what the artist is saying.
The benefits of close reading are: it helps improve text comprehension, it provides clarity of an artist's message, and it helps to discover patterns and details of any given text. We're going to read the poem 2 times. For our first reading, we'll be focusing on the gist of the poem, or the general idea of what the author is saying. While we're reading the poem, I want you to consider a few different things. First, I want you to think about the mood of the piece. What emotions do you feel are being conveyed throughout this poem? 2, I want you to look at how the author uses the numbers and also the examples throughout the poem. And last, I want you to consider how the word fade is used throughout this poem. Be sure to follow along as I read. Fade by Joshua Bennett. Noun. 1, the process of becoming less bright. Example: no one knew how to save the boy, so we watch his inevitable fade with crumbs on our mouths and no spare change, and short prayers that our own sons might never think his name aloud. 2, black hairstyle characterized by an abundance of hair on the top of the head that gradually diminishes in thickness as it approaches the cheek. Example: my childhood fade was so high and well moisturized, I would often tell passers-by that it was a black box built by rogue scientists in case anything in my body ever crashed again, and they needed access to backup recordings of all my best and most important dreams. 3, that which is caught by one who loses a fight in a spectacular fashion. Example: y'all remember Wahid
fought Jason back in 4th grade because Jason kept making all those jokes about why he's little brother riding the small bus. And this man, Jason, caught the fade in front of our entire school. Y'all remember that? How while he just stood there staring at the crater Jason left in the grass like he forgot something? Now I want you to pause the video and answer the following questions. 1. What do you think that this poem is about? 2. What does the form or the style that the poem is written in remind you of? 3. What are the individual themes of each passage? Once you have completed answering these questions, it's okay to resume the video. Prior to our second read-through, I want us to learn a system that will help us break down language a little bit better so we can understand the text that we are reading more clearly. This system is referred to as close reading, and not only help us break down poems, but also with other writing, such as fictional and informational text. We will create a chart in which we use different symbols that helps us question the text that we are reading. The exclamation symbol means this is important. The question symbol means that you have a question. The circle symbol means you are unsure of a word or phrase. The underline symbol means this is key vocabulary. And the smiley face means that it helps you better understand a passage, or maybe that you're more connected to a specific section. Now I want you to take time, just to pause the video again, to recreate the chart and use the words from the text to fill it in. An example of filling a section in would be using the underline section to highlight key vocabulary words such as black box. Black box is referenced in the second definition when Bennett says, "It was a black box built by rogue scientists in case anything in my body ever crashed again." This definition of a black box is a recording device that is retrieved in the event that the plane crashes to help with an investigation as to what caused the accident. Knowing the proper definition of black box helps to better understand what the second stanza means. How does knowing this definition change your perspective of that line? Are there any additional words you don't understand? Maybe this is also a good time to take a pause and look them up using your dictionary. Now that you've had time to create your chart and possibly fill it in, I want you to pause the video and answer the following questions. Was there anything that you learned new on the second read-through that you didn't on the first read-through? Of the 3 passages in the poem, which one did you connect to the most? Why do you think that that is? What makes you say that? How does the painting we looked at earlier connect to the poem? Now we've finally reached the end of our lesson. In today's session, we have learned to interpret art using visual thinking strategies and close reading being applied to a painting and a poem. Now, on our own, we can create our own poem inspired by the art that we observed today. Choose one of the 3 writing prompts to create your own poem or creative story. You will have 15 minutes to write. There are 3 writing prompts. The first one is 1. Write an instructional manual on how not to fade away. What does fading away look like to you? How do you want to prevent fading away? 2, start your poem with the line, "If my mind was a black box, inside you will find." What are some things that we will find inside of your brain in the event that your body had crashed? What are some of the most important things that you will want us to know? Your dreams, your hopes, and aspirations. 3, I want you to go back and reread the poem Fade. Keep the definitions that Joshua Bennett provides, but rewrite the examples in his poem with your own experience. So if you swapped out the examples that Joshua Bennett provided with your own memories and experiences, what would that poem now look like? Great work today. Time for a dance break. All right, dance break over. Now I want you to consider whether you would like to share your work, whether it be with your teacher, in your class, or maybe you want to send your poem directly to InsideOut, in which you can send it by email to info@insideoutdetroit.org, and we can help you push your poem closer to publication. Now that we're at the end of the lesson, I just want you to take a few moments to reflect. What is a new concept that you learned today? And how did it help you in a writing process? It was such a pleasure working with you today and sharing more about interpreting and drafting poems. I hope that you enjoyed it as much as I did and that you would join us in our next video. Until then, take care.
Thanks for watching this video.
Through a curriculum rich in literary arts, social-emotional learning, and self-expression, InsideOut inspires students to think broadly, create bravely, and share their voices with the wider world. For more information, visit InsideOut Literary Arts on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, or at InsideOutDetroit.org.